Hey folks, and welcome back to Pattaya. You know, it's been about 33 years ago since my first trip to Bangkok, and it was there that I first heard this expression, cheap Charlie, but it meant somebody that was a little bit of a spendthrift or cheap, for lack of a better word. Well, about 2 years ago-ish, I met a gentleman here in Pattaya. He happened to cross me one day and told me his story, his tale of woe, how some bad luck, maybe a little bit of stupidity, but I think I'll just say it's bad luck, how some bad luck turned him into a cheap Charlie overnight. Here's what happened. He was a regular visitor here, actually, at least once a year, but the pandemic slowed that down. This was maybe one of his first trips back after the pandemic. The town was reopened, but not fully yet. And he was all ready for his trip here to Pattaya. He pre-booked his round-trip flight, paid for that online. He booked this hotel right behind me, the LK Metropole, for his first 2 nights. His idea was maybe he could get a better deal on either this hotel or another competing property if he was in person and walked up to the desk, because he was going to be here for a month. He packed his bags, he booked the flight to Bangkok, got off at Savannabhumi, and he did a couple smart things there. He went down to the sub-basement and changed a bunch of cash. He had, I guess, British pounds with him and changed that into Thai baht, so he had local currency. And then the second bright idea he had was to get a SIM card for his phone, a local SIM card, which could give him a Thai phone number and some data access, so he had internet access while he was going to be here for his month. Then he hopped in a cab right back here to the LK Metropole, got all settled in his room, and went out for a nice evening. That's where the trouble starts. The next morning, when he woke up, his wallet was gone. In his wallet was all the cash that he brought from England, the British pounds, I guess, his bank cards, all the things you would keep in a wallet. The only thing he had was that local currency that he exchanged at the airport, and that was in his pants pocket, still there from the night before, or what was left of it anyway. And that would become his budget for the next 30 days. He had a lot to do today. He had to cancel those bank cards, try to trace back what happened to the wallet. The last time he remembered having it was when he set off here, and that's when he had the idea, I'm going to keep the home money, the British money in my wallet, and I'll keep the local money in a money clip in my pocket. At least he had that going for him, I guess. But he'd have to cancel those bank cards. He would only have 1 night more prepaid at the LK Metropole, and he'd have to find accommodations and live here for the next 28 days until his return flight. So we're going to kind of retrace his footsteps, see how he made out and how he survived and maybe salvaged a bit of a holiday, even with just very minimal funds. I think when he woke up that morning, he had about 30,000-ish, maybe a little bit more, baht of local currency in his pocket. The rest he had spent on the cell phone SIM card or going out that evening or whatever. That's what he had, and that's what he would have to live off of. So it's going to be a long night, and the LK Metropole, and maybe his last night of true comfort. We'll check back in with him in about 24 hours and see how he's going to make out once they show him the door here from his prepaid reservation. So our friend made out okay on his first day. He was able to cancel his bank cards and that kind of thing, but they would only send the replacements to his home of record, his home address, which was in the UK. By the way, we'll just call him Jeff. I'm trying to change a little bit of these details and names to kind of shield his identity. But anyway, he ended up here behind me. It was a long day. He spent a lot of the time on the internet and making phone calls for those bank cards and trying to figure out what happened to the wallet. But he did go around and, with some help from the front desk attendant, find some rooms to look at. But it was getting late in the day and just wasn't seeing anything that struck his fancy. This was the last one. It was almost sunset. Here looking at this place, a 2nd floor room for 3,000 baht a month. Now it's 3,500 baht a month now. But a couple years ago, it was 3,000 baht a month. No air conditioning for that price, but a clean room with a bed, minimal furniture. There's a little balcony out back. You could wash clothes. There's a restroom. It was a roof over his head, and it would only cost him about roughly 10% of the remaining money. So that would leave 90% for food and whatever he could do to salvage a vacation out of this. He did set aside 200 baht straight away for his bus ticket back to the airport for his return flight home. So all else fails, he had that puts that aside. Anyway, a hotel, even the cheapest hotel, something about 300 baht a night, even for a 30-day stint there, would still be over 8,000 baht a night. So he saved quite a bit staying here. He would need some comfort items. For that, the lady said, well, you can buy these things, pillow, maybe a blanket or sheets or whatever, towels. She said, well, you can buy those things at the Big C. So that was his next stop. So with his proverbial Cheap Charlie hat on, Jeff set off to Big C. I mean, why spend 159 baht for a towel when you can get almost the same thing for 129 baht? He was out looking for the cheapest of everything. I think he got out of here for slightly under 1,000 baht. He got a pillow, he got some sheets. Look at this. There's a pillow for 300 and there's a pillow for 85. So I think he came to the right place for that. But he needed a couple different things. Pillow, towels, some sheets, some toiletries, things like that. Things that will last him for the month and at least make the stay here bearable. The room, although it's a decent accommodation and clean, didn't have much to offer in terms of amenities. He even bought a little water boiler here, an electric kettle. He thought that was a good bargain there, and some coffee. We'll see what kind of cheap coffee we can get. There you go, 99 baht. What's not to like there? So he can have a hot beverage in his room, but cheapest of everything. That was his motto. That's what he made out by doing. Now, while he was here, he had heard that at the Big C and other type of shopping plazas here in Pattaya, that they had food courts and that the food courts were a pretty good deal. So he took his change from the 1,000 baht, put it on a card, and hit the food court here at the Big C. Now, our friend Jeff wasn't a big connoisseur of Thai food, didn't know much about it, but he figured he would give it a try, and especially while he was here. This was supposed to be a good deal, so he shopped around, a little bit overwhelmed, didn't know what to get, but he finally settled on a dish that's commonly called lad na. I don't think he knew that, but he said it was noodles with gravy on top. So that's what he had. He said it was a big portion for the money. He was very agreeable about that, but he didn't like it. Long story short, he didn't like it. He said, I'm not going to be a regular here. Even though it's a value, it can fill you up. He just didn't have the right taste for it. So even though a plate of Thai food would make a lot of people happy, our friend thought, I can do better. I will do better the following day. Even though it's 55 baht, maybe I can afford a little bit more in the budget for something I enjoy. Little trip to 7-Eleven for some other necessities that he needed. Water, one of them. He ended up with the big 6-liter bottle of water there. He thought that was the best bargain. So now he's got water and some coffee and sheets and pillows. He's all settled in and making a little bit of a 28-day home out of this room. But at the end of the day, it was still a very far cry from the type of accommodations he was used to. And I don't know, maybe a little sadness set in. So our guy was doing okay. He's getting by. One thing he planned to do, and one thing he noticed while he was here the last couple of days doing all these errands, it was very hot. And actually, it wasn't even hot season, it was rainy season. But he was still hot. He had thick clothes. He planned on actually visiting Mr. Lucky Taylor back here in the Night Bazaar to get some locally sourced, fresh fashion, breathable clothes to help him with the heat. But of course, with the budget being the way it was and having to become a Cheap Charlie, that was not in the cards. But Mr. Lucky showed him where he could find appropriate attire, and just a short distance away from the shop, he found it in the form of a Chang vest, one of the local little beer tank tops. They're almost ubiquitous here, 100, 150 baht. So that would be his uniform for the remainder of the trip. So there you go. Our friend now is all suited and booted. He's got some fresh fashion duds. Now, he had known about this place. It's time for a little relaxation, maybe. He kind of knew that this place had a reputation of being maybe the cheapest bar in Pattaya, Nightcom Court, Soy Bacau. They don't even have a waitress here, so to speak. You grab your bottle out of the cooler and then walk up to the counter and pay at the cash register and then help yourself to a seat. Some of the seats are located directly on Soy Bacow. There's some others on Soy Lanky. It's at a very busy, almost infamous intersection here. Always a little bit of an offset intersection, unguarded at that. So always a little bit of a slowdown in traffic here, and I think that makes for some good scenery sitting here on the rail and enjoying your cold beverage. But it was here that he could actually maybe network with some other like-minded Cheap Charlies, and he needed that, and he found some recommendations. After all, wasn't too much on that food court yesterday, and he was looking for something more his flavor, his taste. So the good news is there was no shortage of advice handed out at Nightcom Court. He was able to network with several people, and this place kept coming up. A lot of people swore by the cheap English breakfast here. It's a place none other than Cheap Charlie's. So he said, hey, well, I've got to give this a try. And they were very adamant. One gentleman said he was a big a believer in what's called the membership card here. They have a membership program. For 300 baht, you can buy a membership card, and that entitles you to an extra cup of coffee or tea for your 99 baht breakfast, as well as a savings off of anything above 99 baht for the daily specials. So there you see some 129, some 159. All those would be 99 baht for the membership card holder. So your return on investment there, about a 6-day ROI, that wasn't too bad. It wasn't too bad at all. But our friend decided to maybe hold off on the VIP card. He wanted to try this place as well, the Hungry Hippo. He had heard some good things about that and thought that, well, maybe I'll just bounce around. And turned out that both places were to his liking, and he thought, no need to commit to just one and kind of marry myself to one of them. I can kind of bounce between. There was enough money in the budget to enjoy at least one good meal a day at one of these two places, whatever it was, be it a daily special, an English breakfast, whatever. So our friend had made a lot of progress in the last 3 to 4 days. He has his place to stay. It's all set up with the things that he'll need. He's got his uniform, and now he's got some affordable places to eat that he thought were actually good values and great tasting. So he's happy with that, and I think he's really starting to come into his own. So our friend was getting better every day. He would perpetually walk around town. Occasionally would take the baht bus, 10 baht for that. I thought that was a good value, but he just assumed walk as long as it wasn't raining, because he got to discover a lot of places. One place he discovered is where I'm sat now. One thing I think a lot of people do when they come here for their holiday is spend an afternoon relaxing around the pool. Most of the hotels have pools. Well, our friend doesn't exactly have a pool at his room, but there's this one on 3rd Road, 40 baht. So about one quid. And he could spend the afternoon here lounging about the pool, going for a dip, etc. So did find these ways to kind of eke out a holiday amongst the terrible strife of losing his wallet. And this isn't a bad place. They've got food and beverage service, but you could get a beverage here, and 40 baht you can spend the afternoon at the pool and cool off. So not too bad of a deal. Right here on 3rd Road across from the hospital. So our friend Jeff was getting along quite nicely. In the evenings, he was partial to the Beach Road corridor, sometimes visiting the 7-Eleven for a little refreshment and then kind of enjoying the ambience along the beach. But the story does have somewhat of a happy ending. His metaphorical ship was about to come in. He was trying to find people in the UK to maybe wire him money. But he was told he did find one guy willing to lend him the money and send it, but he had severe mobility issues and was kind of confined to home. He said, if you had a Thai bank account, I could just wire you, or transfer, I guess the right word, transfer you the money from my computer here at home, right from my bank in England to your bank in Thailand. But one day, as luck would have it, as he was walking along Pattaya Klang, he got hit by one of our afternoon torrential downpours that are common in the fall, and he ducked into a shop to escape the weather. The owner of the shop welcomed him and appreciated the fact that he was getting rained on. They had a little chance to talk. He told his tale of woe. Long story short, she said, well, I've got a Thai bank account. You could transfer the money to me or have the money transferred to me and I would give it to you. So he took her up on that. had the gentleman in the UK wire that money, and then she took the money, disappeared up to Isan, and he never saw her again. No, she actually took him to the bank, withdrew the money, gave him the cash. He had after that, about 35,000 extra Thai baht, in addition to what he had from his existing budget. He was about 2 weeks into this at the point. I guess his prayers were answered. The funny part, the reason I think he approached me to begin with about this story was at the bank after she gave him the money. He said, I know this really great place. I just saw it on a YouTube video. It's a buffet and it's reasonably priced. Would you like to accompany me for dinner? And it was a place I had just posted a buffet, perhaps V and I had went to, and he wanted to go there, but of course it was out of his budget until that moment in time. So they departed on a great evening together, the details of which I'm not privy to. But at the time when he approached me, he only had about 2 or 3 days left here and claimed he had the money now to rent a scooter. He had walked all over town. He got to know the town a lot better. Now he was enjoying riding around, still watching his money, but he was able to do some of the things that he originally set off to do when he got here. And he made a new friend along the way, a lady he was still in touch with. So there you go, the epic of Jeff. How some bad luck turned him into a cheap Charlie overnight. But I think he made the best of it, and I think there might be a lesson in there somewhere for somebody. Lock your wallet in your safe. Just carry your Thai baht that you're going to spend that day in your pocket, something like that. Worst case, you just lose 1 day's money, not the whole vacation's money. Ditto with your passport, which he did. So anyway, hope you enjoyed the episode. Something else next time. But for this one, got to go ahead and leave it off right here. And as usual, I'll thank you for watching. And until next time, bye for now.